Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Saturday. It's Daryl here. It is bright and freaking early, man. It's 3 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. Okay, I got a Bam Margera story today. It's been so long since I did a Bam Margera story. I'm going to talk really quick about that. And I'm going to talk about something I hid from you guys. Because this is a Bam Margera story about wipe it out on a skateboard. I'm going to finally tell you guys about an accident I had 3 or 4 months ago that I hid from you guys. I did my videos and I kind of covered up the scrapes and bumps and I did not tell you guys about it. And today I'm going to talk about it. Okay, let's start out with the Bam Margera. Okay, I haven't done any stories about Bam in a while, and I'm familiar. It's like a bittersweet thing. Usually when you don't hear from somebody in recovery, I've been clean and sober for 17 and a half years now, since October 23rd, 2006. And I talked about this in videos before. It reminds me of that saying, when you do good, nobody notices. And when you do bad, nobody will let you forget. That is so true. Bam's been doing really good. And when you do good, there's not a whole lot for people to whisper and talk about. Oh, he's such a mess. Oh my gosh, I wish he would I wish he'd clean up, and when you're actually doing great, like, once I got into recovery, I lost 90 pounds. I started my own business, professional artist, YouTube channel, and nobody says anything. It's a bittersweet thing, I think, sometimes, but tomorrow, God forbid, if I relapsed, there would be like 1,000 notices all over Facebook and everything, on YouTube and everything. Well, maybe I'm overestimating my importance. Okay, Bam Margera. The video will be down below. The article will be down below. I learned about MCL tears this morning. The video will be right down below. It's nothing. It's not a big wipeout at all. It's just as you get older, man, I found two things to be true. As you get older, it gets harder and harder to stay in shape. Yesterday, I exercised for 6 hours yesterday. I am not exaggerating. It gets harder and harder to stay in shape and keep muscle mass. And I'm going to be 58 years old. And it gets easier to hurt yourself. Like Bam's talked about this before. Bam's talked about how, when he was especially when he was drinking, he felt like his muscles were like dried rubber bands. And here's an example of that. I guess, with his girlfriend, Danny, or whatever, and in his recovery, he's been working to stretch out his muscles and ligaments, but I guess he needs a little more stretching. So in this video, he's in a pool going back and forth on a skateboard, and he comes down off one side. And I'm not sure if he puts his foot on the ground, but I know I could see exactly what happened. I've experienced this on my mountain bike a few times. You put your foot down and you just don't have enough muscle to slow yourself down, and your leg goes out behind you. And that's what happened. His legs pretty much split open. And when his back leg went back, his knee bent, and it bent in two different, in different dimensions. It bent not just this way, but it bent this way, and it tore his MCL. There's 3 grades of MCL. I learned all this stuff this morning. There's a grade 1, grade 2, and grade 3. It can go anywhere from having a brace and crutches and being able to walk and just a little sore, to having surgery and needing an MRI and all that stuff. And it seems like Bam is okay for, it takes a while to kind of figure out, because I'm sure he hasn't I doubt he's had an MRI yet, because MRIs are so expensive. But he's got a brace on and he's got crutches now, and it seems like, I'm guessing, I'm not a doctor, but I probably say this is a grade 2, from what I read this morning. And so, it looks like he's going to be okay. So he's back in the news, and something bad happened. He hurt himself. He wiped out on his skateboard, and all of a sudden he's back in the news. It kind of goes along with what I said. When you do good, no one remembers, and when you do bad, no one will let you forget. That is the truth. Okay, now this was last December. It was a rainy day. I can't remember the exact day. It was raining in the early morning, and I took my usual bike ride around town here. And there's I usually go out about 4 or 5 miles, then I come back towards my house. And going out, I go uphill, and then coming back, I go downhill. coming back towards where I live. And it's a metropolitan area. It's a city area here. So there's this one area where I am on a hill and I wait for the light to turn green, and I zoom through the green light going downhill. Then I go down another hill, and then there's a supermarket parking lot on the other side of the road, on the other side of the street. And if there's no traffic, I single, and I'm doing about 35 miles an hour at this point after these two hills and the green light. And I turn into the parking lot. And, and every time I've ever wiped out, every time, I've wiped out on my mountain bike at least 20 times, 30 times, probably at least once or twice a year. I mean, good, solid wipeouts. And every time I'm trying to look cool, even if there's nobody around, I'm like, wow, this must look cool, taking a corner and leaning into it, or, jumping off a curb. And, yeah, I still do that stuff at 58 years old. So I lean into the parking lot, and thank God, my back tire was bald. I was meaning to replace it, and the ground was wet, but it was above freezing, so I really wasn't worried about it. I've wiped out on black ice before. That's why I needed a hip replacement on my left side here. And I had just gotten a hip replacement 2020, summer 2020, during the COVID thing. And so I've only had a hip. I've been fearing ever falling on this side again, because I have maybe I'll put the picture of my hip replacement scar right here. It's a big scar. It's about this long, and they actually took off the top of my femur, the head of it, cut it off. It's grinded down my hip socket, put in a titanium rod down into my femur, and it's a new ball joint. I was terrified to get this done. I was up and walking in 24 hours. It's amazing what they could do today. And I'm still hurting from this wipeout. So anyway, I go into the parking lot, and I'm doing about 30 miles an hour. And it's an empty parking lot. It's an empty supermarket. It's closed down. So there's nothing in the parking lot but the grass islands. And I'm kind of swerving, trying to look cool in between the curbs, the grass islands, throughout the parking lot. And I go around the last one. I really lean down into it, and I just feel I'm doing about at least 30 miles an hour. And I just feel the back tire slide out, and it is a god awful feeling, because there's nothing you can do about it. All that goes through your head, you just, the bike just basically disappears. And I sit way up high. I have an extra large frame because of my size and everything. And I put my seat way up, because I'm always afraid I want to be above the cars if I get hit. So I fall onto the car and not underneath it. So I sit very high up, and it's a long way down to the ground. And the bike just disappears underneath me. And I'm doing about 30 miles an hour, 28 to 30 miles an hour. And I literally bounced off the ground, and everything just spins. There's no control. I hear the bike clatter away. I bounce my head. I literally felt my head bounce off the tar. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to the hospital on this. And I just see, I see the sky, I see the ground, I see the sky, I see the ground. I'm bouncing. I feel my head slam into the pavement. And finally, I come to a stop. And this is weird. The first thing anybody always does is you get right up right away to make sure you're still in one piece, which probably isn't a good idea. And as soon as I got up, two guys that were walking through the parking lot, I think they were two homeless guys actually, they started running over towards me. And somebody that was walking through the parking lot in the other direction comes running this way. And the two guys come over, and I'm standing up, and I'm worried about my hip, where I fell right on the hip replacement. And the two guys go, dude, they're like, take it easy, man. The guys go, we thought for sure that we were going to be calling the ambulance and you were going to the hospital when we saw you fall and fall that wipeout. That's what these two guys said. And then they go like this. They go, dude, you're not such a spring chicken anymore. You can't be doing that. And both these guys got gray hair, and they're telling me I'm not a spring chicken anymore. Kind of puts me in my place, really. And I'm sore. I got scrapes, and my head scraped all here. How I didn't really get hurt, I don't know. but I literally felt my head bounce off I felt it just bounce off the tar, and I bounced on the road about 2 or 3 times, rolling over, and came to a stop. And my hip was hurting, but I was able to walk. So I pushed, I walked away. They were like, dude, slow down, don't get back on the bike. They're all worried about me. Everybody, by this time, more people have come over. Cars have stopped on the road. And everybody sees that I'm kind of okay, and I'm kind of being insistent about walking away. And I walk away, and as soon as I get around the corner, I stop, and it's an alleyway, and I stop, and I pull the side of my pants down to look, because I'm really worried about what I did to my hip replacement. And there's a bump right on top of the scar, just a rock hard bump already forming. And I'm like, oh, I don't know if it's a bone, I don't know if it's a piece of the metal, I don't know, or if it's just swelling. Turns out it was just swelling. And I was able to walk that day, but a couple weeks later, for about almost a month, I was in incredible pain. I had a hard time walking for a month, which you guys couldn't tell when I was doing videos. The reason I kept it, I'm not even sure why I kept it hidden. It's because I felt foolish. I did. Because I don't wear a helmet, because I'm 58 years old. And I was worried about the head injury. I didn't know how bad it was. I didn't know how bad any of the injuries were. And insurance, 2 things, insurance and the law, getting arrested, are 2 things that I've learned not to talk about in public. It's better to keep your mouth shut. If you get hurt, don't start talking about it like on social media, because if it involves insurance, because insurance does not like to pay for anything. So I've learned these 2 facts, but now things have kind of passed, and it is what it is. So that's why I'm talking about it. So anyway, as you get older, you really got to slow down. Yeah, I'm not a spring chicken anymore. I'm 14 years older than Bam Margera. And I dare say my wipeout was, it at least was a lot more theatrical, or not theatrical, a lot more exciting than Bam Margera's was. Because I like I said, I literally bounced down the road, slamming my head into the road the whole way. Kind of explains some of my videos, I guess. All right, I'll be back later. I got 3 videos I want to talk about today. I'm coming up with a good video. All of a sudden, I realized something yesterday as I was reading this book. I realized the moment my dad died when I was 9, and this is an upcoming video. I remember this one moment when I realized I was about 8 years old, and I realized my dad was human and fallible, and I was going to lose him sooner or later. I realized he was a human being, and I want to talk about that. It's going to be a good video. All right, that's coming up today on Artists in Recovery. Stay tuned. Have a good Saturday.